Hey guys, this is Aegis, and this is game 4 of the Week 5 game in the Collegiate Star League Season 5. I just stumbled all over that between the University of, George Washington University and UMBC. This is going to be MC Hunky spawning as the Green Zerg player. He is going to be playing for George Washington University, and his opponent is going to be Ices from UMBC. He's going to be spawning as the Red Terran player. This is GSL Daybreak, one of the maps for the GSL, of course, and chosen as a map for the CSL in the Season 5. Overlord scooting out for MC Hunky. And Ices is going to be over here in the bottom position, and Daybreak is a very interesting map. It does have this pretty wide area for the natural expansion, so it's pretty hard to actually wall that off. There's a rocks guarding this very wide ramp. A little bit of lag was going on, looks like, and there's also another ramp going over to the third base. And then in the top corner, there's also a fourth base. And of course, in the center, there's also this Richard Vespine gas geyser, a couple of small mineral fields. This does give you control of the center, as well as this, Zelnaga Tower. And over here, there's this expansion over here as well. And in the center path, which is the shortest path over to your opponent, there are these rocks to constrict movement paths a little bit. It's good to take control of that area. So it looks like Nerzel was the one lagging, and he does leave the game. Hunky going to be throwing down his spawning pool now after getting his expansion first. And Ices does see what's going on, so we'll see what his response is. Perhaps go for a faster expand of his own. Looks like a drone is in here trying to harass all of those SCVs, and Ices not really wanting to bother with that drone as of this moment. And Hunky is going to continue to micro back and forth, trying to take out an SCV. Looks like that SCV down very far into the red, and we'll see if he's able to take that out. Looks like a repair does go down. And the orbital command is on the way as well. Ices is getting out his first Marine to help clean up that drone. Looks like that drone is going to be real pesky and trying to take that extractor. The Marine getting into position to shoot at that as well. Factory coming up for Ices, going to be opening with some Hellions. Possibly see that reactor go down real soon. And over here for Hunky, he's going to be throwing up his gas geyser to get those speedlings out to control the map. There's an SCV at this Zelnaga Tower watching for the movement of our Zerg player. It looks like the reactor is now on the way for Ices, and that Marine is going to be shooting away for quite a while. Two Queens now on the way for MC Hunky. He's going to be able to do those vomits real soon. There's that cancel, and the drone is going to be scooting around in here trying to figure out exactly what Ices is doing. He's going to see that reactor and know that there is definitely a factory somewhere in here, even though he doesn't see it. The factory is going to float over, and it will swap over to make some Hellions. A Zergling will also be able to scoot up there to see exactly what's going on. The Zergling is scooting around the backside to see exactly if there's anything going on over there. It's also going to be positioning itself to see the natural expansion, which is always a good thing. The SCV doing the exact same thing for the Zerg natural expansion. I mean the third base. That's not a natural expansion. And we have a command center coming up for Ices. So he will be taking that natural expansion shortly. The SCV checking out what's going on over here. It will be scooting into the main to see that there is a Roach Warren on the way for Hunky. Actually, it doesn't make it, so it doesn't see that Roach Warren. So Hunky is going to be getting those roaches out for defense and maybe for a bust. I don't really see him doing that bust. Just because he doesn't really know that his opponent does have this natural expansion on the way. And more Hellions going to be popping out for Ices. That rally point does make sure those Hellions do make it out across the field. Looks like a couple of drones will get roasted away by those Hellions. targeting them one by one. It looks like the roaches do spawn, and it looks like they will be able to clean up those Hellions. The Queen doing a good job here as well. Looks like those roaches cleaning up those Hellions without too many losses. Looks like just 5 workers killed by a sacrifice of those 2 Hellions. I guess that was worth it. 4 Ices was able to do some damage. Looks like there is a swap over for that tech lab on the starport, so he will be going for some of those Banshees, and he also has enough for Cloak, so we'll see if he decides to throw down the Cloak shortly. Hunky getting up his lair right now, as well as additional gas geysers. The 2 Hellions trying to make their way in here to see exactly what's going on. The roaches guarding the ramp. A couple of roaches advancing forward for Hunky to see exactly what's going on. Looks like it's just a Banshee for the moment. Not really any sort of cloaking going down by Ices. A couple of Marines do pop out. He does have a bunker to help defend. And the Hellions trying to get in here. Oh, they are doing some damage here. Looks like the roaches are completely out of position to deal with this. 1 Hellion does go down, but 4 more drones killed by Ices. Banshee now flying right past that Overlord, and Hunky does see it, so he's going to be forced to throw out possibly a Spore Caller to help defend against this, but he doesn't really... There's an Evo Chamber, so he will be able to throw up that Spore Caller. We'll see if he decides to do that. I assume he did see the Banshee. It just flew by an Overlord and all of the roaches, and the natural expansion now getting taken. The roaches all getting taken out here. They are too slow to retreat, I think. Never mind. Ices is not going to be chasing after them, and here comes the Banshee going to be trying to do some damage here, and the Spore Caller now being constructed. 2 Queens getting into position as well. The Spore Caller does complete, so that Banshee did force 1 Spore Caller to come down. It's going to be microing over to the natural expansion, where there is another Spore Caller to defend, just in case those Banshees do have Cloak, but indeed they do not. Another Banshee popping out for Isis to help defend. And looks like everyone's just going to be sitting back for a while. The 3rd base coming up for MC Hunky, and the Banshee over here continuing to do some nice harassment. Going to be able to take out a couple of those drones. 3 kills so far. Banshees, they need to get, I think, 6 or 7 kills to be completely worth it. But along with those, the Spore Caller getting moved right now, it looks like the Banshee will be able to continue doing some harassment. Now up to 5 kills, and the Spore Caller now completely rooted. Looks like another one does go down, and it's up to 7 kills. That Banshee was worth it now. And of course, with all of that Hellion harass, MC Hunky must be extremely annoyed. 37 SCVs for Ices, which is ahead of Hunky. Usually the Zerg player would want to be ahead as of this point. That Banshee with just 14 HP hiding in the back. And this center, Zalaga Watchtower has actually been held by Isis for the majority of this game, so he knows that his opponent isn't really moving out. The 2 Queens making their way over to the 3rd base over here. Looks like it does pop, and they will be able to throw down those creep tumors shortly. They're trying to throw them down over here. Possibly throwing a couple down here would be able to get those up sooner. And Isis now getting out those double medevacs. He is getting this stim pack upgrade as well as additional Marines right now. More barracks coming up for Isis. His main is running a little bit dry, so we'll probably see him take a 3rd base real soon. He just threw down 3 mules over here. And it looks like he is going to be pushing out across the map with the majority of his forces. He does have 4 Sea Shanks as well as medevacs. 1 is loaded up and ready for a drop. Going to be headed straight for MC Hunky's main. Looks like the air units are actually getting a little bit far ahead of themselves. They will be able to range down a couple of those units. If they get out of position, the roaches do retreat, and there's the medevac full of units trying to fly into the main without getting detected. MC Hunky has a pretty good spread of those overlords to see that this is happening, but he's not really responding as there is this huge push coming in through the front. The roaches and the queens getting pulled to try to deal with this. Infestors now out on the field. They're going to be able to throw down nice fungals there. The Sea Shanks do siege up, and the drop in the main is going to be able to take out that extractor and Banshee trying to do some work over there. Looks like the Marines now targeting down the infestation pit. MC Hunky doesn't really have a good response to this. If he leaves his natural expansion, he's going to take a lot of damage over there. Scan going down, cleaning up the tree tumors. It looks like the Queen's going to be advancing forward, and the Transfuse is going down on the Queens as well, trying to take out as many of those units as possible. Looks like the Roaches trying to range down all of the tanks. Fungal's going down, but it looks like the Roaches may just be barely enough to take out, along with the Zerglings, able to take out this Terran attack force. And it looks like the infestation pit did go down. Those Marines could have done so much more damage. Stimpack going down, going to be going after a couple of those drones right now. And it looks like the Infestor does pop out and die immediately. It looks like Fungals will be going down, forcing a couple of wastes on those Fungals. And the Roaches cleaning up as well, forcing the drones off mining for just a while. Ice is now securing a pretty good food lead. He's going to be pushing again with that Marine tank force. A third base is complete and ready for the taking by ISIS, and we'll probably see him float that out as he advances here. Looks like a couple more Infestors getting caught out of position. Oh no, Hunky losing a ton of those Infestors. Those are so expensive gas-wise, and he doesn't really have anything to deal with all of those Marines right now. He's going to be relying on this next pop-off of Zerglings. Looks like that Sea Shank is unprotected, and the Zerglings will be able to get up in its face and take that out. And Ice is securing a pretty strong lead right now. A couple of Zerglings spawning out individually, and a couple of drones are getting taken out as well. The Zerglings getting in here. No Stimpack going down by Ice, just trying to kill as many units as possible without using too much health. And Ice is now securing a 30 food lead, as well as his third base. Medevac's kind of flying around here. It looks like ISIS maybe continuing to try to push this. I don't know if that's the best decision right now, especially as his forces are getting rather small each time he pushes. Probably gather up a slightly larger force, like pushing now along with this would make it far more scarier. It looks like ISIS will be pushing with this 5 Marine, 2 Sea Shank, 1 SCV force, trying to take out the third base over here. Should be seeing a stim going down, as well as the tanks probably focus firing a couple of those units. Looks like the Medevac doing its best job to heal all of those units up. The Stimpack going down on those Marines, and the Zerglings trying to advance forward as well. Looks like they will get taken out pretty quickly. The Queen goes down as well, and more Zerglings getting over here will be able to clean this up. More Medevacs trying to get over here as well. Stimpack going down on those Marines. See, if he had that army together, I think this expansion would have gone down by now. The Sea Shank will be sieging up shortly. There it is. And the hatchery is getting that target fire. Looks like the Zerglings swarming forward will be able to take this force out without losing the hatchery. Great job by Hunky taking that force out. Almost losing that third hatch would have been almost game-ending for Hunky. And over here, ISIS will be transferring his SCVs shortly, and the Zerglings will be advancing across the field. ISIS does have plenty of Sea Shanks as well as Marines back at home. Looks like he will be going for yet another push, not letting our Zerg player catch a break at all. Looks like MC Hunky does see this push coming out and will be retreating across the field. 5 more Infestors on the way. He does have the Infestation Pit back up, as well as Spine Crawlers coming up in the back just in case. +2 melee as well as the +2 armor are on the way for our Zerg player. He's just sending 1 Zergling at a time, trying to delay this as much as possible. The Infestors go forward, and they will be able to throw down great Fungals. A second Fungal going down will be able to take all of the Marines out, and the Zerglings and Roaches advancing forward, going to be able to clean up this army pretty easily. The 2 Infestors do survive for once, and Hunky doing a great job of holding that off, but still 30 plus 40 food behind, and ISIS is ready with yet another army, possibly do another one of those mini pushes, which I don't really like. Planetary Fortress up for ISIS at the third base. He can transfer some of these SCVs. The mineral patches here are extremely low, and there's basically like 20 SCVs mining like 2 patches, and there's a transfer from the natural expansion. We'll probably see ISIS try to take a 4th base real soon. There it is coming up for ISIS. And the medevacs not really following the Marines. So if MC Hunky was actually going for Mutalisks, that would be really bad. Looks like there was a failed drop in the main, as well as a couple of infested Terrans out on the field. And the infestor count is starting to become scary, and ISIS is going to be sieging up over here. The Marines getting a spread down. Looks like the Sea Shanks sieging on each other, the infestors throwing down the fungal growths, and the army does get taken out once again, but MC Hunky now this time falling to 78 food, and ISIS is now a full 60 food ahead. Third base is about 75% complete, and looks like a load up from ISIS is going to be dropping in MC Hunky's main eventually. Don't really like this. I feel like he should clump up a little bit more and go for a pretty hard push at one point to try to break the Zerg army. It's mostly just these small encounters where the infestors are throwing down wonderful fungals like that one. There's a nice fungal taking all those Marines down to 15 HP. Looks like the medevacs coming up to heal all of those guys up. Fourth base now on the way for Hunky. He's been behind for the entire time. He's going to have to play catch up. As ISIS is ready to take his fourth, he's floating that out right now. We'll be able to throw up that planetary fortress over there. And Ghost Academy on the way for ISIS, which is the proper response to all of those infestors, throwing down those EMPs, making them completely useless. Looks like the medevac's taking some damage, and most of them do survive. One of them is in the deep red, and Hunky is going to have to gear up and defend against this push if he wants to survive. He's only got Zerglings and infestors right now. It is a potent mixture, but against an army that is essentially 60 foot ahead of him, I don't know if that is good enough. Looks like the load up over here, the infestors not in position to deal with that. No creep over there to help them move a little bit faster, and the Terran army is sitting in the main in the center will be able to engage that Zerg army very easily. There's also the personal cloaking as well as infantry armor level 2 on the way, along with the vehicle weapons +1 for our Terran player. A bunch of drones not mining here. It looks like the fourth base did get taken down. A single Zergling's trying to see exactly what's going on here. Looks like ISIS is going for the jugular right now. The Zergling's going to be swarming forward. The Sea Shanks now sieged up. Good fungals need to go down, but all the infestors are kind of just milling by, not throwing down the critical fungals. Looks like all the Zerglings do get taken care of. All that's left are these 3 infestors. Even though those fungals are pretty good, it's not going to be enough. There are still Sea Shanks coming on the way, as well as 200 food supply for ISIS back at home. There's another push coming forward, a couple of Sea Shanks as well as those Marines. Let's take a look at the unit tab. It's 85 SCVs for ISIS and 57 Marines spread out all over the place. The Marines coming down here taking that base out as well. There are Broodlords out on the field for MC Hunky, but Broodlords alone are not going to be able to do anything. The Marines can just stim and run straight under them, although I will be able to force ISIS back for the moment. Looks like the Sea Shanks now sieging themselves along with the Broodlings, trying to take those tanks out right now. But the Terran army is advancing against this expansion, taking it out. Another Broodlord coming up, and it looks like ISIS is going to prevent UMBC from losing 3-1 in this matchup, and we're going to be headed to an ace match. I really don't see how Hunky is going to be able to come back in this. Those Corruptors are completely useless, just taking out a couple of medevacs here or there, a couple of Broodlords getting morphed, another fungal going down, but the medevacs in the air able to heal all of those units back up, and all of the Broodlords do fall. GG out of Hunky, and we're going to be headed to the ace match. It's now tied up 2-2. This is week 5 of the Collegiate Star League Season 5.